Hello and welcome to today's webinar. This is the second webinar of the 5 and 3 Challenge series, and this webinar is entitled Jumpstarting Your Physical Activity Program. My name is Madison. Let's get started. Today we're going to talk about the importance of movement, our goals, cardio and strength training, the importance of a warm-up and a cool-down, stretching, and finally, my favorite section, debunked exercise myths. We're going to start off by talking about why movement is so important. And if you think about it, progress and innovation have made life much easier for us. Today we get by with less effort than we have before. The good news is that we can get more done over a given period of time. But the bad news is that this progress typically means less physical movement of our bodies. And more, the need to move is being eliminated from our daily routine. And think about some examples in your own life. Do you do things or perform tasks now that required much less movement compared to years ago, such as how you get to work, how you go grocery shopping, how you just move throughout the day? Do you sit in a desk all day long? Do you drive everywhere? Do you, not use your steps as much as you could? There's a lot of things in your life that if you think about it, you probably realize you could be moving a lot more than you are because of technology and innovation that has come throughout the years. And this is true all over our country. Our country is set up to drive everywhere and to eat unhealthy things and to really not move. So we are fighting an uphill battle here. All right, but I want you to know, as we get started here talking throughout this webinar today, the difference between planned activity and spontaneous activity. And both of these types of activity are important. However, it's important to know the difference and what you should be focused on. So planned activity is intentional physical activity that you plan and that you carry out intentionally, like going for a walk, planning a bike ride, going to the gym. This is like exercising, planned exercise. Now, spontaneous activity is still important, but it is not planned per se. It's kind of just activity that happens throughout your day. And it could be, walking to your car, walking into the door from the parking lot at work, walking around work, taking the stairs. But there are little things that you can do to increase the spontaneous activity, even though it's kind of worked into your day already. And some examples are here: taking the long way to the cafeteria or to the restroom or wherever it is. Take the long way. Taking the stairs always instead of the elevator or escalator. So it's important to focus mainly on planned activity, because planned activity is where you're going to, hopefully get your heart rate up and really see those health benefits of physical exercise. But spontaneous activity can be important too, because it's just little things you're doing here and there throughout the day that can help to add to your calorie burn and just help you get more exercise in small doses. And next we're going to talk about progression in movement, and it's really important if you are someone who is just starting to exercise, or you are just starting to exercise after being inactive for a long time, to practice progression. And this is so important because a lot of times people get really excited about an exercise program or a weight loss program, and they do too much, too soon, too often. And they end up hurting themselves, or they're not able to perform the way that they want to, so they get discouraged. And I have an example here, a 10-week progression. This is just an example. These are exercise minutes, and it shows a way that you can progress from 125 minutes a week to 200 minutes a week, and just moving up your daily physical activity minutes by 5 each day can help you to really start slow and work up to something much higher, but doing it at a good pace. And the main reason, like I said, is injury, because your body and your muscles aren't used to what you're doing. It's going to be really tough on them, and you're probably going to pull something or injure a muscle or a ligament or something if you're not exercising properly and using progression and some of the other things we're going to talk about today. So if you're just starting to exercise, or you're coming back to exercise after a long time, you're in luck, because we are covering that all today. And it starts with making sure that you are aware that you need to go about this in a slow progression. And I want to talk about your goals now. Goals are very important with the physical activity program, but there are some things that I want to talk to you about your goals that some people make mistakes. And I think a lot of us have heard about SMART goals, right? You want your goals to be specific, S for SMART, measurable, attainable, have a reward, and be timely. So I'm not going to cover on that today, because the SMART goals are everywhere, but I do want to make a point to say that when you're choosing your activity goals, make sure that you at least like the activity. If you hate swimming, maybe swimming isn't the best thing for you to start with. I mean, not that you have to love what you're, everything that you're doing, and we don't always love, exercising at the time, or we don't always love it every day that we do it, but you should at least like it. And I have some moderate intensity activities here that can be good, because these moderate intensity activities are important, because these are activities that you can do for your whole life. Okay, you can walk your whole life and bike and play tennis, and although you may not like these ones and you may choose different ones, that's great, but you do want to think about things that you can do long term. As well. You may not always be running or playing basketball or volleyball or whatever you're doing, but make sure that you like it so that you'll be more likely to stick with it. Pick a moderate intensity sport or activity if you can, and progress slowly, as we just talked about. More about goals. It's important to know about how your strength training reps, your cardio progression, and your weight loss is connected with your goals. And I say that because you have depending on what your goal is, you're going to have a different exercise regimen. So for example, cardio. If cardio is your goal, you're going to have different training aspects than you would with strength training or weight loss, but they all relate as well. So take, for example, strength training. And if you look at the chart below, if you're strength training, that's great, but you need to know if you're looking to do some toning, it's recommended that you do more reps with a lighter weight. And if your goal is strength in strength training, as in getting stronger, bigger muscles, then you're going to want to do less reps with a heavier weight. And I'll explain more about this later. But and that's just an example of how you need to know what your goals are in order to develop your exercise regimen. And cardio, like I said, it's just the progression. It's progressing slowly yet surely. And with weight loss, I wanted to point out that strength training can be a part of your weight loss. It can be really important. But if you're not there yet, you may just want to start with cardio, because cardio is what's going to give you your calorie burn. And not that it's all about calories in versus calories out. It's important, but there are other aspects of it as well. And so strength training can really be an important part of it. But don't neglect the cardio, because that's where you're going to get a lot of your calorie burn from. So I want to explain the strength training goal as I just talked about. So if you're going for toning, like I said, you're going to want to do lighter weights and higher reps. So like you see there, your weight, if you're doing, if you're going for toning, you're going to want 12 to 20 reps and a lighter weight. And if you want strength, you're going to want to do about 6 to 10 reps and a heavier weight. And this is going to be different for every lift, because if you look at the picture on the right, the top, you want to do enough weight so that you're being challenged. However, if it's too much weight, your form is going to suffer. You're not doing the lift right, so it's not even happening, and you will run the risk of getting hurt. Okay, so burn this in your brain. You want the weight to be light enough so that you're able to keep the form and do the lift safely, but you want it to be heavy enough to still challenge you. Okay, and that's going to be different for pretty much every lift that you do. And you're going to want to make sure that you know how to use the right form for every exercise. Otherwise, it could cause you injury and you're not even doing it right anyway, so it's not going to be effective and worth your time. And it could also hurt you as well. So if you have a local gym, or you can, if you don't know a lot about weight training and you can get a couple of sessions with a personal trainer or someone at the YMCA in the weight room or something like that, make sure that you are being shown how to do exercises correctly, and make sure that you are always practicing them with safety and good form and the right weight. Alright, the importance of a warm-up and a cool-down. A warm-up is so important because if you don't warm up before you exercise, your muscles are cold and the blood isn't moving through your body like it needs to be for exercise, to get the exercise through your heart and to all of your organs for your higher intensity workout. So it's really important to do a warm-up because those muscles are cold, and if you don't get the blood moving, you're going to be very likely to injure yourself if you're exercising on cold muscles. And what do you do for a warm-up? You want to do dynamic exercises. So you don't want to sit down and stretch right away. That's not a warm-up. Dynamic exercises are light exercises that you can do to get ready for your workout. And they can be things like a light jog, lifting your knees, high knees is what some people call them, kicking your feet back towards your rear. Those are called rear kicks. So just warming up. I just recommend a light jog, kind of, moving around, very low intensity, just kind of get the blood flowing and getting ready to exercise. And then you can kind of move into a faster jog or a little bit more moderate intensity before your workout. And the cool down is so important because if you don't properly cool down, as in slowly lower your heart rate, your blood can pool in your extremities, and this isn't good for your circulation, and it's not good for your body overall. So I always say slow before low, as in slow down your heart rate, do some moderate to low intensity before you go low and you start stretching. Okay, and stretching as in, sitting down and holding your muscles, or, bending over and holding a stretch, that's called static stretching. And what I described in the warm-up is dynamic stretching. So you want a dynamic stretching exercises for the warm-up, slowly moving around and getting those muscles warm. And you want to do static stretching like what the woman is doing on the right-hand side of the picture, of the page. That's what you want to do after your workout. Okay, is really stretch those muscles, get all the lactic acid out of your muscles so they don't build up and you have sore muscles and, blood pooling in your extremities. I also want to touch on stretching in terms of its importance, some research, and just a little how-to. The importance is that you can really injure yourself, and I just touched on that. But if you're not properly warmed up, you can injure yourself. And if you don't do a proper cool down and stretching, the next time you exercise, you're at risk to injure yourself as well. And for performance issues, if you are an athlete and you're looking to perform the warm-up and cool down and stretching are very, very important for performance issues as well. And this is the new research, like I just mentioned. Really, really important that you only do dynamic exercise before the workout and static stretching after the workout. That's newer research, depending on who you talk to. It's new from a few years ago. and it's pretty much becoming mainstream now. But it's not kosher to just sit down and stretch before a workout anymore. That's for after the workout. How to, when you are stretching, make sure that you're moving slowly. You're not bouncing. They did that in the 80s, but they don't recommend that anymore. You hold the stretch for 20 to 30 seconds, which is a long time. It doesn't sound like a long time, but when you're actually holding a stretch, 20 to 30 seconds is a long time, but it's important to hold it for that long. Make sure that you're always breathing. Don't hold your breath when you stretch. And if you do feel pain, that is not good. It's not no pain, no gain in this instance. So if you do feel pain, stop and get it checked out, because you should feel uncomfort, but you shouldn't feel pain when you're stretching. All right, so moving on to the last slide, exercise myths. And I love these because a lot of people, aren't really sure what to think when they hear these things. So myth number 7, women shouldn't lift because it will make them bulky. This isn't really possible. Women have large amounts of estrogen, which makes it very difficult to get bulky. And they also have very small amounts of testosterone. So unless you are eating lots and lots and lots of protein intentionally and working out and lifting all the time, it's going to be very, very hard to get bulky as a woman. So you shouldn't worry about that, and that shouldn't keep you from lifting weights if you're a woman. Myth number 6, you can spot reduce for tight abs or toned arms. No matter how much of a how much of an area you work, there's going to be no definition if there's excess fat. So if you can have the strongest abs and do abs all the time and have a really strong abdominal section, but if you have fat over that area, it's not going to show. Okay, and you can't just pick an area, like if you don't like your underarms, like only do tricep workouts. It's not going to go away. It's going to help a little bit, but it's not going to totally go away. You can't spot reduce an area just by exercising, just by lifting with that area. You have to reduce your overall body fat, which comes from, decreased calories and losing weight and body fat. Myth number 5, chug a protein shake after a workout. Although this can be helpful, you really have to watch the calories, because it's a lot of calories, and if you're chugging a protein shake and then going home and eating a whole meal, you might not need all of those calories depending on, what you burned and how your workout was. And it's also the lowest quality food, so if you're going to eat a good meal, it may just be better just eating, a meal with healthy protein, good carbs, and, other good nutrients. So just think before you just chug protein shakes. Myth number 4, low-intensity exercise burns more fat. And this could really get into it and be complicated, but basically there's different zones, and when you're in lower intensity exercise, it's shown that you burn fat instead of carbs. But we're not going to get too far into this today. What the bottom line is that I think you should just ignore these zones and pay attention to calories, how many calories you are burning when you're walking or when you're running. They're both good for you. You're both burning calories. You just, the more ground you cover, you burn more calories. So the bottom line is don't worry about the zones and burning more fat or carbs. I would say just pay attention to calorie burn. Myth number 3, as long as I go to the gym 35 to 45 minutes, that gives me a pass to do what I want for the rest of the day. And I just want to say the gym doesn't negate a bad diet. You can eat your way through any workout. So if you are busting your butt in the gym, make sure you're eating well too, because it is unfortunate to go through all that hard work and then you're not eating well, and it's not even, you're still getting health benefits from the cardiovascular exercise, but don't neglect your diet because they go hand in hand. Myth number 2, no pain, no gain. And I mentioned this before. You can feel discomfort during a workout if you're, getting tired or you're stretching, and discomfort happens, but pain is not good. So if you feel pain, stop and get it checked out. And the last myth number 1, your weight is the end all be all. And I know this is a weight loss program, and sometimes, we need to concentrate on weight to get healthy, But some people live and die by the number on the scale, and this isn't always healthy either, because your weight is going to fluctuate probably within 3 to 5 pounds, and you know, just don't live and die by the number, because people can get kind of wrapped up in that, and health is the true priority. And if you need to lose weight to be more healthy, then do it, but give yourself a break, give yourself enough time, and you'll get there. Just keep at it, and you'll get there. All right, that wraps up our webinar today. The next webinar number 3, is taking charge of your environment. Looking forward to that. I thank you for your attendance today, and if you have any questions, please feel free to email us at livewell@babbins.com. Thank you. Have a great day.